If you haven't noticed, gold has reached a new high, all-time highs actually, and keeps going up every day. Why is that? It's because precious metals are a long-time historical store of value. And if you own a portfolio and you have assets in the fiat currencies, i.e., stocks, bonds, cash, or whatever, you're vulnerable to hyperinflation, which is coming as our debt explodes another trillion every 90 days. It's really scary. So, how do you protect yourself? Go to Advisor Metals. If you look on any of our CDM.press sites, about halfway down, there's an ad for Advisor Metals. Click on it, fill out the form for your contact info, and Ira Bishotsky will contact you and talk to you. It's an easy conversation. There's no sales pitch. He's completely verified by us. He has a regulatory background we've checked into. We've checked with his bankers. We've checked with his IRA custodians for metals, and we can highly recommend Advisor Metals and ERA. So go to Advisor Metals. If you call them directly, tell them we sent you at CDM, and he'll definitely take care of you. But protect your portfolio because you really need to. It's coming. Thank you. Here's Michael. Sir, thank you for giving us a little time today.
Oh, thank you. I hope I'm lined up right in the camera.
And you're good, man. You're
so
good.
So, yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Hegseth was down there. What was the response of the speech, and what are you seeing on the ground? I know you're really in the thick of things down there.
Yeah, he gave a speech yesterday on the canal, actually right next to the China Bridge. So if you see the bridge in the background, that's not the China Bridge. That's the Pan American Highway. That's the Thatcher Ferry Bridge, which is a bridge that was built by the United States in 1962. But about halfway between where Pete Hegseth gave a speech and that bridge that you see in the video is the China Bridge. And then on the other side of the canal from where he gave the speech is one of the ports that that BlackRock is trying to buy, but that China has blocked, right? So that's here they call it Balboa Port, but Hutchison, Whampoa, Hutchison owns it, right? Or not owns it. They have a concession. And also another port on the other side of the canal. Those two ports are key because they're actually connected by a railway, which the Danish company Maersk just suddenly bought. They bought suddenly, let's say. And but you got to keep in mind that railway is not just any railway. It opened in 1855, and actually when the canal was made, they had to close the original railway because the original railway, a lot of it's now underwater in the canal, right?
Yeah.
And so, so now the original railway was very important in building the canal, and then they also built this new railway. But this new railway connects those two ports, so that's extremely important because the new railway, or it's not new, it's been around a long time itself, but this, let's say, the new railway that opened in more than 100 years ago, but it connects those two ports at either end of the canal, and so it allows ships to come and sort of use it as a mail system. You might say they can drop off a bunch of containers, pick up a bunch of containers, and they don't have to transit the canal, right? So it's very valuable in that regard. It allows you to come in, drop off, pick up, and keep going up the coast or wherever you're going. And so whoever owns that railway, if you're looking at monopoly, that's a nice railway to own. Now, what I'm told was that BlackRock, if their deal had gone through and maybe it'll go through, I tend to doubt it at this point, but who knows?
Yeah.
But they wanted to do business, I'm told, with MSC, which is the Mediterranean Shipping Company. And the Mediterranean Shipping Company, which is a huge company, just like Maersk, they're both huge. Maersk is the big boy in the canal, though, right? You see their containers everywhere, but if BlackRock got those two ports at the end of each end of the canal, the Atlantic and the Pacific, they were going to do business, I'm told, with MSC as the train company, right? And so that would so Maersk wanted to basically defend their own business and just get the railway, which they've done. Interestingly, if you look on my Substack, Misako Ganaha and I went up in that train maybe a year or so ago, and they actually let Misako get on top of the train and put a camera on top. So we made video going all the way across the canal one way and back.
Cool.
and Misako and I, we rode in the engineer car, right? So the whole trip. In fact, when you go over to the Atlantic side, they parked the train and we had to go down the long steps because it's pretty high up actually. And then the train started up and drove past us the length of the train, and then we got up in the other car and drove the opposite direction. So the train didn't turn around; it's just got engines on each side of the train.
Yeah.
So
That's real reporting, man.
yeah, we and then Misako, like a couple months ago, she actually opened one of the locks in the canal, Agua Claras locks. And published that video on my Substack as well. Interestingly, too, a few months ago, we were down in Argentina and we were looking at the bioceanic corridor that the Chinese want to build between Brazil and it goes through Argentina and will end up in the Pacific at Chile. And we went up. The Chinese have an electric sort of maybe a demonstration train, let's say.
Mm-hmm.
I say electric because they say it runs by solar power and they have some big solar power panel farm or whatever. I don't know if it's legit, but they do have a solar panel farm and they do have the electric train because we rode on it. And when we were on that train in Argentina, they asked Misako if she wanted to ride in the engineer car. So I got to go in there with her. There's this thing, Japanese privilege. It's quite real. It's like we come to the train in Panama. She's on top of the train. We're riding in the front. She's opening the Agua Claras locks, and we go to Argentina, and she's in the front of the train again. So we get to see a lot of stuff. And
no, I know you do. That's why I like having you on. So let me ask you, was BlackRock buying those companies actually a positive or not? Because, they've been way out in front of the whole globalist thing, which, is kind of tied to what China's doing, the whole ESG and all that Marxist crap. So is it good or bad that they didn't get to buy those companies? What's your feel?
Well, that's turning my volume up. A lot of my friends down here in Panama, they want the Chinese out. But then when they saw BlackRock getting it, they're like, whoa, they asked the question that you just asked, which was the first question I asked myself. Wait a minute. These are jab pushers. They're total DEI people. They want the invasions of the United States to continue. Well, China was jab pushers. They want us to have DEI, that they don't have it. And they want the invasions of the United States to continue as well. Which one is the most dangerous for us? Probably BlackRock, because BlackRock does meetings with Trump all the time. BlackRock, you know what I mean? BlackRock is, in hotel I'm at now, Hegseth is staying here, right? And the guys with the ear things are all over the place, right? At breakfast, all around me, the ear things, this is it. I mean, and so Hegseth just got back from a meeting with Netanyahu 2 days ago. He was in Washington, right? Then he flew in here and gave a speech, and now he's giving other talks today. And I mean, so Hegseth is, if we have a war with Iran, which is looking pretty probable, he was, signaling about the attacks on the Houthis or whatever. I mean, this is, this is not in the interest of the United States to go to war with Iran, period.
I agree completely.
Anybody who says that it's in our interest to go to war with Iran is either a Zionist or really, really stupid. I mean, it's not in our interest to go to war with Iran. It's just
well. You mentioned you have Laura Logan coming down. I know her well, and I met her through the MEK, which is the Iranian Resistance. The way to take down Iran.
You met the MEK? I was out with those guys. They were in Iraq.
Yeah, they were in Iraq. Yeah, that's where before they were moved to Albania. But my point is,
Albania.
Yeah, I was the first journalist in their camp in Albania, but I wrote a book about it, actually. In fact, I'll bring that up now just so people can see it.
Book?
Hold on, I'll get it. I'll send you a copy, or when I come down, I'll bring you a copy.
I wish I would have read that before I met them, but I met them in about 2005 or 6, and they were in that camp. And what was the name of that camp? And they're run by women, aren't they?
They are run by women. Hold on, I'll just bring this up 1 second.
So that must blow people's mind. An Islamic terror group ran by women.
Well, that's why they don't want it.
What's that?
That's why they don't want the MEK in power. The book is called "Paying the Price: The Untold Story of the Iranian Resistance." I'll bring you a copy when I come down. But I just want to throw that up there. So, but yeah, Laura knows. She's well informed on them as well. What else? I know you don't have a lot of time. What else do you want to get out to the world here?
Yeah, Lara's coming down and I'm going to take her all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
And so, she's not been to Panama before, and it's very
Mm-hmm.
important to get her big mind down here. You know how she is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And she's a rare bird.
Oh
She
yeah.
has really seen a lot of this world, and I can't wait to show it to her and see how this, how it comes out in the calculations of her experiences. And so I'll be seeing her tonight, or actually in about 6 hours. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So, what do you see? How does this play out with the canal? Last question. How does it play out? We're going to bring more military infrastructure down there and try to prevent any kind of closure of the canal, because that's what China could do, right?
Well, China doesn't really want to close the canal. If we go to
Mhm.
war, of course they want to close it, but
Well,
they
that's what
could.
I meant. Obviously, yeah.
But I'm not sure that we could really stop China from closing it,
Mhm.
because this isn't World War II.
Mhm.
And the Japanese, they had a fair shot at closing it then, and they were going for it. Actually, they even
Mhm.
developed a submarine to do it called the I-400.
Mhm.
And anyway, not to go into that, but closing the canal is child's play with modern technology, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really undefended. I mean, I'm out
Yeah.
there at the canal all the time, and
Yeah.
I mean, I'm on the water in it. I'm flying around it. I'm going, going through boats through the locks and all that stuff. And tourists can come right up on it. So, I mean, I'm not saying that it should be all locked down like our airports, but at the same time, I don't. The major threat from China is not that they'll close the canal, which they could do, obviously,
Mhm.
but they don't need to have the bridge and all that to do it. The number one, two, and three customers in this order are United States, China, and then Japan.
Mhm.
China wants to control the canal. They want to control Panama. They want to control all of Central America and South America and the
Mhm.
Americas, from
Mhm.
Canada down to the tippity toe there of South America, Tierra del
Mhm.
Fuego, right? They want, and so, and they're working on it. It's not just a pipe dream. They're
Mhm.
sort of like in the gym every day, let's say,
Yeah.
and they're making progress. So they don't. The only way I would see China closing the canal would be if we get into a war with them, like Taiwan or something like that, and it's worth the damage. Like China says, well, it's worth damage to us because we're going to do a lot more damage to the United States, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And they would do more damage to us than to them. But if they just control the canal, then that puts them in a position to control a lot of the things that we do, and certainly extort from Japan and everybody else that goes through the canal, right? So
Yeah.
anybody that says a bad word about China, or doesn't come on and say the words that the speech that we told you to read on your microphone,
Right.
they can say, well, your ships can't go through. How you like that? And so we can't let China take this canal. We can't, but China, they have a long game, and they're doing this, and they're hitting this in many different mechanisms. One is uh, demographics. I mean, they're slowly coming in and moving in. Chinese have been
Mhm.
here for 170 years. But that's a different set of Chinese, right? But this, the Chinese Communist Party also has got their tendrils into that one, and they
Mhm.
want to, and I see it in Honduras and Guatemala, all over the place. They are working very hard to both fill up the bathtub with their mainland people, just like they're doing in Canada
Mhm.
and the United States and so many other
Mhm.
places. But they're also the people that have been there for generations. They're trying to recruit them, and in some levels they've succeeded, and others they haven't. That's why they have these police stations all over the place. Like
Yeah.
Masako found one in Ireland, and we went to it in
No, there was
Dublin.
one in New York. They shut
That's
down.
right.
Yeah.
That's right. And so those police stations, one of the reasons that they're there, first of all, they're run by MSS and United Workers Front. MSS is their CIA, the Ministry
Mhm.
of State Security, right? So I mean, it's straight up. Like, we went to one in Dublin, we went to one in London, we went to one. The one in London was pretty hidden, but
Mhm.
Masako found it somehow. And then we went to one in Toronto. No, not
Mhm.
Toronto, Vancouver, and it's interesting because though the main reason for those police stations, in addition to spying, is to police up dissidents, because when China has had problems, often it's been uh, you know uh, let's say sponsored and financed by Chinese that are overseas,
Right.
which is
Right.
normal. I mean, when
Right.
people are running operations against other countries, they often do it with the diaspora, right?
Right.
They'll use the diaspora and the diaspora's money, and like, we want to be in charge again. And that doesn't matter if it's Poland China or wherever, Vietnam, they'll use the diaspora to fight Iraq, and I mean,
Right.
one after another. And they do it to us, we do it to them, that sort of thing. And China's doing it to us now.
Well, Michael, thank you very much. I know you don't have a lot of time. I really appreciate you carving out a little bit for us, and we'll come back. And you got something else you want to say, or?
No, but thank you for having me on, and
Yeah.
thank you for the flexibility. It's
Sure,
been a
sure.
busy day, and we're about to head down to Darien, so we're in the middle of all that.
See you soon, my friend. Thanks again. Take
Thanks,
care.
Todd.
We'll be
Bye.
right back.